Hey guys, how's it going? This is going to be a video on kiting, but it's going to be a talk on self-training and my thoughts on it and the struggles with learning to kite. Um, we were up in Ludington for a couple weeks, and this here at the beginning, that's totally out of focus, was my very first attempts there with kiting and just getting used to having the risers crossed. They seem to always mess with me. If I leave my hands uh, not crossed and grab the brakes, I seem to do a lot better at it. But I know we have to get this down pat because that's how we're going to reverse launch with the motor on our back. So we'll get it eventually. Good news is by the end of the couple weeks it was coming around really well. Um, this just happens to be a really good one. Somebody wrote on one of the last video I did, said you got to have it up for at least a minute before you can think about motoring, and I totally get that, and it's coming around. Um, as far as self-training goes, I think that's a decision each person has to make on their own. I would love to go to Aviator PPG and get into their program. Would be a riot. Um, be invaluable. I'd love to have somebody in my ear on that first flight, but others have done it. I think it can be done. Uh, the other thought I had that's kind of wild is to think that you could get this all in your head in a 3 to 5 day period, and then be in the air. I get they want to talk you through it and so that you can feel the pressures and stuff, and that's invaluable. And I'm starting to understand feeling the pressures when you're kiting and how important that is. And towards the end, I saved the best for last because, of course, as 2 weeks of kiting helped a lot. And there's some footage of kiting turned around not looking at it, and that does really make a difference. It feels like you finally are starting to get it. But these at the beginning of the week were up and down. There was some sporadic good times, mainly bad because this lower winds, putting in too much brake to keep the wing where you want it, it just makes it fall back. And learning to let up on the brakes was a big challenge for me. And the right and left thing, like I said, seems like every time I watch these and the wing goes wrong, I pull the wrong brake first and I step. Well, usually I step the right direction, but the weight shift on this harness is not good. I can really lean, and it doesn't seem to do a whole lot. It really takes a lot of effort to. I'm going to work on that some more. I'm going to try to figure out how the weight shift could get better. But back to the training thing. Having all that information poured on you and then being put in the air, if a guy can take and go at a much slower pace and nail each thing, and feel like he's really learning it and getting it all down pat, for me, it just makes me feel a little bit more at ease. I've heard said online that people want to save. The only reason they're doing it is to save money. Saving money is always a good thing, especially if you have a job like me and have limited time off and dedicate that to your family. It's hard to get away for something like that. That could be up to 10 days. But I think it's invaluable. I think it's amazing. It'd probably be a riot too. Um, but as far as self-training goes, just like I said, there's stuff out there that they say that all you're into is saving money, and that's not true. And getting this physical part down is very important. And the book side of it, you can learn also on your own. Because I went to our local airport and talked to him about what classes I could take on airspace or just getting to know the airport's rules. And he just told me to go online and save my money. And just get videos and watch the stuff. He's going to review everything with me anyway when I go over there to fly out of that airport, which is not a controlled airspace as far as the tower goes and stuff. So I also seen online that they say that each airport has its own idiosyncrasies, and ours is no different. He said to fly out of there I'll need a radio, which I think is a great idea anyway, so that you can report your position. Here was a practice of a forward launch. A lot of fun. And the other thing is self-training as far as just the physical side. We can get the weather down pat. We can go ahead and there's apps online for taking tests to see if your knowledge is progressing and if you have enough of it. As far as rotor goes and wind and heat and making thermals, this wing is not, for a beginner, is not going to be flown in any of those conditions anyway. It's going to be super smooth, super quiet, early, fair weather only, because it's got so much lift, and it's so, I don't know if you want to call it docile, but it's super low performance, and I believe any kind of headwind is going to slow this thing down a lot. So you wouldn't want to be flying this in any kind of wind at first anyway, and probably not much even once you know what you're doing. So the kiting is going well. Later on, after the first week, the wind started really picking up there, and I really couldn't wait to get out and have enough confidence to put it up in much heavier winds. And we did get to the point where it was lifting me just standing there, and it was very exciting. It's very cool. As far as this goes, these are just forward launches, starting to get more used to reaching up and grabbing the A's when it starts to sag back and recovering it, and just finally got to the point where starting to feel confident now behind it, instead of scared of it in higher winds. The other thing is, watch when you're at the beach. These things, boy, they flip over on the sand. Boy, do they dig it up and they scoop it up. That thing got so full of sand, I've emptied it out at least 3 times. If anybody could tell me great resources for cleaning the inside of the kite without scrubbing it out, I know you can. I've seen that you can flip them upside down and reverse kite them and shake them, and you get a lot of that out of there. But I really hated getting sand in my kite. I ended up always going back in these tall grasses trying to keep it out of there. But it was inevitable. It turned upside down a few times on the sand, and like here, it lands right. But once you drag a tip, those things fill right up. So this is the part where we got into the higher winds, and it was much more fun and a lot less boring to watch. And this is pretty entertaining, because even though the pictures videoed up and down, Jana films this way so that she can get the me and the wing. But the wind was really high here, and whenever I'm dancing around there, I'm barely on the ground. And I know you can bend your knees and take that lift out, but actually I really enjoyed it, pulling on the brakes and feeling it lifting all the time. A few times it was kind of wacky, and I felt like I was out of control. But you know, you can, if you train well enough and practice at it, you can get the kite to come down with no problem. Because at the end of this, we ended up going, well, here I'm kiting without looking at it, so that was very rewarding. Being able to feel what it wanted and keeping it above me. And this went on for, I think this one went on for a little over 4 minutes, but ran down the hill and got a little bit airborne. And right there, when you turn, I was surprised at how much pressure is on the risers. I didn't think it would feel that much pull to keep them apart. I thought it'd be easier to spin around, and it isn't. It takes quite a bit of effort. So that's kind of made me feel good inside, knowing that when if we do get the Nitro 200, that the taking off and maybe giving it just a little too much throttle by accident and getting the torque and the twist happening, that this has quite a bit of pull trying to keep it apart. So I'm hoping that that won't be an issue. That'll be in the back of my head for sure. Yeah, as soon as I think there's a spot coming up right here where I did forward, turned around, and got it balanced out really good and went down the hill. I'll see. Yeah. But letting up on them brakes so that thing will fly back instead of having to pull you backwards. Takes a little bit of, I don't know, it just seems like you always want to pull on the brakes a little bit. But we did get a little airborne here. It kind of held me up for a second. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, the videos that I watched spoke a lot about in high winds to control your kite coming down. It doesn't want to come down, and boy is that true, because every time I pulled on the brakes it just tried to lift me. So at the end of this, you can see what I did with the C's. It doesn't have D's, but I pulled on the C's instead of just piling over with one brake on one side, and it worked really well. It comes down really clean.
Pulls you right back up the hill.
I don't think I had much of a choice for coming back up the hill. It really, really is fun doing that and having it yank you back up. At the end where I crashed, you can see that I had the brakes wrapped around the riser wrong, and that's all it took to get me off balance and goof things up. But hey, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed watching as much as I had making it, or actually doing it. I mean, making it's no fun. I hate doing this. Jan's watching TV and I gotta be quiet.
That's hilarious, Dennis.
Oh, I will make one more if I get good enough in high winds to like walk up a building or kite back and forth that way. And I think that would be kind of interesting. And getting into weather and getting into airspace. So thanks again for watching, and post anything down below that can help, and subscribe if you want to see the journey. Thanks again.
Hello.